Yes. Thank you for reminding me to record this. It's interesting. I opened the meeting 10 minutes prior and started the recording, and then I stopped it because I don't want to have you like look at me for 10 minutes then later when you go into the recording, and then I forgot to take it off again. So thank you for kicking it off. Let's talk about highlights. Yes. The first project I mentioned opened. We have already 15% return on invest on this project, and we're not even in the high season. So this was already during low season. So we're kind of aiming for an average across all year for like 18% on this project. Then we opened the 14 apartments of the residential living. Both projects are, by the way, in the north of Canggu and Sese. And we had 89% occupancy rate in December. January, the numbers are already out. And so on average, we're currently around 84%. So also looking to have like a really high occupancy rate here, which is basically one of the most important drivers for the return on invest. And we even created a shares platform where people can invest with us from $100. But then they invest into the company, not into a specific project. And this could be interesting, you know, if we're like aiming to do an IPO or sell certain projects to bigger property funds, etc., or private equity companies, which we're already talking to. But that's another conversation for another day. And yeah, what's really important for us is that our vision is coming to life. So our vision with Coco is really to connect people and share the Bali lifestyle. Maybe not just in Indonesia, but also in the long run across the world, and which that means for us to come together, to connect with the local community, to give back, to have really good relationships, to be appreciative of the local culture, but also to have a great time together. You know, we have had multiple opening parties. Coco launched its own active sportswear for which we had an opening party. So we have already gathered so many people across the island. And so our community is growing pretty fast. Nishant, yes, exactly. That was in December. So on average, currently on that project, we are on 84%. So here's a quick overview of all the projects we've created with Coco so far. You see here on the top left, I mentioned it already, it's called Le Mansion. Le Mansion really stands for the big villa. We have 3 of those next to each other. Sorry, there's somebody speaking. Please mute yourself. I'm gonna find that person. Apologies for that. Trying to find the person in chat here. Oh, here. Found you. There you go. So we have the mansion, 3 big villas next to each other. Then next to that, on the bottom left, we created the Coco Lifestyle Residence, which is 14 apartments. They're going really well right now. My business partner, for example, is invested in one of those.
Come again, please.
So Le Mansion, Coco Lifestyle Residence. Then the third project we started is in Uluwatu, and I'll show you the map in a second. It's the Coco Lifestyle Resort. It's 56 apartments in a really beautiful shared space. The apartments have balconies all towards the inside, so they're facing each other. So we really want to make sure people come together and connect and see each other again and again. This is kind of the idea of that project. Then our investors from the lifestyle residence and from the lifestyle resort, they asked us if we can also do villas. So we had a bit more land next to the lifestyle resort. So we created a complex of 10 villas, the Coco Boulevard. And so they're connected next to each other. They even have a padel court, lots of shared facilities. I'll talk about that in a bit. Yes, so these projects are all leasehold. I'll come to the topic of freehold and leasehold in a bit later. Then we had some people asking for something a bit more behind the main areas, a bit more calm. So we created the Amazona Jungle Resort, where you have 41 beautiful, lush apartments by a riverside, where you can kind of retreat from all the madness, where there's lots of traffic and so much aliveness and buzziness and busyness. So, but not too far, like 10 minutes away, where you easily drive into the beautiful, crazy life of Canggu, where when I'm in Bali, I usually live. And then our newest project is the Coco Hills, which I'll share with you guys in a bit. Which actually has a freehold in this case, Chris, just for you to know. So those are our projects so far. And maybe you can kind of see a common pattern already here between these projects, which is big windows, lots of light, kind of modern bohemian style, in this beige and light brown tones. So we are pretty congruent across all our projects with that, where we feel like it's kind of a timeless concept. And few last words about Coco. What we really are about is community building. And I think this is already something I take away when I want to give you away on this point is Coco is not just about building properties and, selling apartments and that's it, or selling villas. It's for us mostly about bringing people together. And I'll cover that in a little bit. And what we really do well, much better than most of our competitors, there's other companies that are doing an amazing job as well, but many do not go that extra mile, which is the topic of brand building and marketing. Again, Coco is not just properties now. We launched our active sportswear and we're going to create so many more products around it. And it's just going to create this whole upward spiral of experiences and products that are all paying into the brand of Coco. And so we have the value growth factors of the land, of the property, and of the brand as well. So that's something that I'd like for you guys to keep in mind and always to look out for when you look into real estate investments. Is it just like a building and that's it? Or is there more to it? And yeah, I mean, you saw the numbers, we're growing pretty fast. We're on a really good track. We're far, far, far away because people sometimes ask me like, what happens if Coco goes bankrupt during a development? Well, we're light years away from that, luckily. So that's really important for us as well. Why? Because we're building such a strong brand that really people can identify with. And many people tell us, hey, what you guys are doing is actually what I'm craving, So that's like a constant conversation we're having. Okay. If you have any questions regarding Coco, you can drop them now. If not, I will jump with you guys a bit now into Bali itself. And yeah, just put them in the chat if something comes up. Meanwhile, I quickly open Google Maps to show you guys. And for some people of you guys, it's probably all nothing new. But for many people I know, I always have people in our webinar that it's new for. So I want you guys to understand how Bali is structured. So let's look at the island here, right? It's in the beautiful northwest of Australia. It's next to the main island where Jakarta, the main capital from Indonesia, is. And if we look at this island, what we see is there's still lots of green around, right? And this is more the rural regions where there's like still lots of farms, rice fields, family homes from local people. And the most buzzing area here is in the south. Denpasar is the capital. Here you see the airport, and the airport kind of separates this southern peninsula here called Uluwatu, which means the last rock, which already shows that this is all like cliff area around from the, let's say, main island. And then an area that really developed first is this whole region here. It says Kuta, that goes kind of north from the international airport along the west coast here. And you see here, for example, Pantai Kuta. Pantai is beach, then Seminyak, then here is Paranan, for example. And when I came to Bali, for example, everything was developed up until here, Pantai Batu Bulong, yeah, which is also called Canggu. And then when I came back 1 year later, this whole area of Paranan was developed. And now when I was here again until recently this year, the whole region of Sese is currently being developed, which is also where we have our first project. So let me just show you around the projects quickly. The first one I mentioned is Le Mansion by Coco. Is here kind of behind the main road, but you still don't hear the main road, which is really nice. And here you see that main road kind of also that separates the beach region from a bit more the inland region. And in the beach region is where all the cafes are, where all the gyms are, where all the parties are going on, where the beach clubs are, right? This is very alive here. Also, getting something here, property, like already is usually a bit too expensive from a land perspective. And also a downside here is, and let's talk about a few downsides. This whole area I see is pretty far developed already. If I put in, sorry, not restaurants, but hotels, you quickly see how packed this is already. If I zoom in, you just like see more and more popping in. And you have all kind of price ranges from $10 a night to, I think last time I looked at it, I saw something for like $600 a night. Of course, then that's a villa with multiple bedrooms. Here we have $938 a night. You always find everything basically in all price ranges. But what's important is that in this region, there are currently over 8,000 villas. And another possibly 8,000 are developed in the next years, which leads to intense competitions already in terms of like, where do people stay? You need to do really, really good marketing to still meet your over 80% occupancy rate, what like a few years ago people were just used to. But we have a feeling it's not going to be like that anymore. Either you do amazing marketing or you're going to struggle with that. And we know from people that are already struggling to rent out their villas to the prices they were used to, right? Which eventually drives your return on invest. So that's why this is an interesting area to hang out. There's a lot going on, but from a development perspective, maybe not the most attractive place anymore in our perspective. We got lucky because we went into Sesi, which is a bit north of that Canggu area, and we got the land really cheap. That's why the investment is pretty still running pretty good. Yeah, beautiful. I see questions coming in. I will answer them in a bit. Okay, let me just take you around the map right now. Here we go. Then the next project right next to it is the Coco Lifestyle Residence. Right next to it, here, 14 apartments. I'm just clicking on the picture right now with a shared pool. All apartments are kind of facing the pool. It's a really cute development. Yeah, which we really enjoy having, and already have thrown a couple of parties there as well. Okay, then we move on the geography lesson. You guys are doing great. Thank you for listening so well. Another great region, possibly, that is always talked about is Ubud. Ubud, this mystical jungle place with like tons of temples around and waterfalls in the green jungle area. Here, it's also, I've never been fully stuck in traffic until I came to Ubud, where for 15 minutes, I didn't move forward nor backwards. Everything was stuck on my bike, right? Here in Canggu, we have a lot of traffic, but I can still get forward and backward and around. But Ubud is really, really crazy by now already. Beautiful villa developments around, beautiful things going on. A great place for me personally to explore and visit for a weekend. But ideally for living and from an investment perspective, I'm kind of looking to be more closer to the beach sides. And another region that will develop possibly in the next years to come is a bit here north from this Tanah Lot area here. There's going to be more developments coming up in the future for sure. Then the north of Bali here with Lovina, that's famous for swimming with dolphins, is developing. There is an airport, a second airport in planning here in the north as well. So there's developments coming up because the government wants to make sure that the tourism spreads across the island. But then the most attractive region for investing right now from our perspective, oh wait, I also wanted to mention the third project from us before I do that. So that's where we have our jungle resort here behind Sesi. Our first projects were here, right? Then going into the jungle, that's like a 7 to 10 minute ride. Beautiful area called Kaba Kaba, not so developed yet. Couple of beautiful sustainable eco resorts are around. We're right by the riverside here. It's very calm. It's very quiet. We really love being there. From an investment perspective, for us, great, because we got the land for a really good price as well. Yes, and then now coming to from what I believe is the most attractive area to invest in right now is Uluwatu. It's probably gonna change in 5 years because in the next years, basically everybody's fighting for the land here. And not all land can be developed on because we have like hillsides here, but yeah, there is like the most drive happening. You have pretty high occupancy rates, but also Uluwatu is so special because it has the most beautiful beaches all around. And you have this one famous area called Nusa Dua. This is where you have some of the most pristine hotels in Indonesia, in even Asia. I think 5 of the best hotels of Indonesia are even placed there. Guys, please don't draw here. I really appreciate that. You guys are funny. Let me see if I can refresh it. Oh no, that's, let me see how I can get rid of that. People are sometimes a bit respectless, I believe. Let's see. If anybody knows how to delete whatever was like painted there, please write it in the chat so I can just get rid of it. I appreciate that. Yes. If not, I have to just like restart the whole meeting. Okay. And then you guys have to come back in again. It's ridiculous. Okay, cool. All right, let's see if we can still continue from here. Yeah, I know, right? Shizia, I feel you. So here in Uluwatu, we have this beautiful area called Bingen. It's between those green areas. Lots of villa developments happening right here. Beautiful cafes. It used to be a small surfer village for some amazing beaches to surf on, of course. And we are here a bit behind with our next project. So we have the Coco Lifestyle Resort. Here we go, which is right by the golf course. which is nice because our neighbors are the Le Grand Hotel and the Swiss Bell Resort Hotel, some of the really high classiest hotels here in the region. The golf course allows us also to ask for a bit higher prices from an investment perspective, which is nice. And not many projects are around here, so we're pretty alone, which is pretty cool as well. But it's only 3 minutes into the village. Thanks for the leading that, appreciate that. And it's only 7 to 10 minutes to the beaches here of, for example, Dreamland Beach or Bingen Beach, which are really beautiful beaches to hang out. Yes, but not too far to get to the south. For example, there is one of the biggest world's famous clubs called Savaya. The owners are friends of ours. It's this famous queue where some of the best DJs in the world have already played and continuously play. So you're like still like pretty quickly down there in the south. You can basically reach all Uluwatu and you only need like 25 to 30 minutes, maybe maximum 45 minutes to the airport, depending on the traffic. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing about the drawing. It's hilarious. Good one. Okay, cool. So here we are. And then our newest project is called Coco Hills. And Coco Hills is also right on top of this village of Bingen. We even have from the higher floors an ocean view, which is nice. And we kind of could oversee the village. Currently, there's like lots of high trees. If they will be eventually taken down, then you see more. I hope they stay though for the beautiful nature. But again, like in the center of Uluwatu, easy to get around. For us, a perfect place to be invested. So this is a bit an idea of Bali. What else you need to know is, for example, here in the very east, you have the famous diving spot Ahmed, also a harbor that Indonesia is now planning to expand to get to neighboring islands. And then also here in the south, here is the Nusa Dua and the Lesanua harbor. And they're also being expanded now to host some of the biggest cruise ships in the world. And it's basically the places from which you get to neighboring islands like Lembongan and Nusa Penida and all other possible islands coming up here like Lombok. Where Cheryl is from. Yes, okay, so that's a bit of geography lesson. Let's get back into the presentation and talk a bit more about what's going on in Bali right now. So Indonesia is investing heavily into its infrastructure. Why? Because we are reaching record numbers in tourism. So for example, the airport, the main airport has been able to host, I think, around 25 million people. They're expanding it to 32 million people per year. Then they're building the second airport in the north to host up to 20 million people. I already mentioned that one of the ports was upgraded to host the biggest cruise ships in the world, one of them currently arriving. And Indonesia, concretely Bali, is now investing in its own first subway system being built by a Chinese company, expected to finish in 2031. And if you just take a look at the map again here, basically we have the airport and then the lines are going from the airport all the way through Canggu to the north of Canggu to take weight off the traffic from the streets. Then going down to the south, going past the GWK statue around here to Nusa Dua. And then even one line always goes all the way up to Ubud, and another one is being planned to go up to the north. So this is an approach by Indonesia, by Bali, to take weight off the traffic. And we wanted to talk about downsides. The downside is that sometimes the traffic is pretty heavy and pretty busy, right? Especially with more and more big cars that are being used by tourists driving around. And then in a car, you're easily stuck. With a bike, you can kind of still get around. So that's where Indonesia hopes to take weight off the roads. Stefan, to get to your question, how far the beach is away from our project, here in Coco Hills, it's around 7 to 10 minutes by scooter. Depending on which beach you want to go to, some are a bit more away. Yes, then there's even a new port being built in Ahmed, which I showed, another place in Sangsit. So they're expanding their ports and they're creating multiple bypass sections. Oh, we have another one speaking. Bilal, I'm muting you. Thank you. And multiple roads to offload traffic challenges all across the island. For example, there's a new road now being built to bypass from Denpasar, the capital, to Canggu main road to take weight off the roads again. So Indonesia is aware of it and they're doing something about it. That's important. Something else interesting is just recently there has been launched a sovereign wealth fund called Danantara, worth of $500 billion to develop Indonesia's strategic industries. For Bali, it's especially tourism. Ray Dalio, one of the biggest investors, is also involved, speaking with the president about it. So you see development here. And also Apple, for example, opened a developer academy in Bali now for developers being trained, which is also cool. So you see that even the biggest companies and brands are now coming and understanding the potential of Indonesia. What's the potential of Indonesia? Well, if you look at the lowest point here, it's one of the fastest growing economies with an average GPD of 5% over the past 20 years. Last year, I think we hit 5.16%. And we're currently even hitting deflation for the first time in February for Indonesia in history. Then it's one of the leading tourist destinations for multiple years, now even awarded the #1 tourist destination for the South Pacific Asian region, and a #1 destination for cultural travel in the world for this year. So there's a lot happening. And then we hit record-breaking tourism numbers, which I already mentioned, 6.3 million people that came in, for example, already last year from international travels, and then another over 6 million, I think over 7 million from national travels. So what's happening is that more and more traction is coming to Bali, and the investment into Bali's infrastructure and tourism is just growing as well. And that's why it makes a lot of sense to go there. Why? Because the tourism is not just backpacker tourism, it's also hotels, it's wealthy people, it's expats coming to Bali and also staying a bit longer and trying to connect to community. Yeah. So much a bit about Bali. And now we're going to talk about from why we believe what Coco is creating is a future, and how we can make a good investment with that. But in the meantime, I'm quickly taking a quick water break and look at your questions that have come in to see if I can cover those while I'm sharing the screen in a second again and just switching to another presentation. Here we go. Yes. Okay. So I'll take a look at the questions. What was the option to join only with $100? Mick, just to quickly get back to that, Coco opened a WE funding campaign, which is basically an opportunity for you through safe agreements to buy a few shares from Coco itself, which will turn into money for you once Coco goes public with an IPO, or once we, for example, have bigger private equity funds buying into Coco that you can sell those shares of yours. It's a very typical thing for American companies usually to do if they plan to raise funds later on. But yeah, that's a start. And you can just start by $100. I can share the link to the WeFunder campaign in a bit for you. What else? What are the current real estate regulations in Bali? Would these get stricter since there are multiple investments happening? I mean, supply is limited. Absolutely, Nishant. Let's actually address that question really quick. That's a great question. For example, there was a talk that certain regions, like the Canggu region and Denpasar and the region around Ubud, are planned to be limited for future development. So only what's currently being developed will be finished, but no new developments are allowed. Now, the president completely killed that because he just wants to keep seeing international investment coming in. So that's off the table for now. Still, the region of Uluwatu is developed currently like crazy. And still, when we look at the map again, most of Bali is still green and not developed. So there's always a good side, right, and a dark side to it. The good side is that poverty in Bali is decreasing. More and more Indonesians, more and more local Balinese are having more money. You can see them, for example, when I was there during COVID, they were driving around maybe on like almost broken bikes, and now almost everybody owns the NMAX, which is like the bigger bike, and they're smiling more. We had lots of thievery going on and a bit of rape also going on sometimes. Like I heard stories in the circles during COVID because people were just like struggling with poverty, right? Which is usually not then Balinese people, but also people coming from other islands. But like crime rates have been dropped significantly. There's not so much scary things going on anymore. So it's a pretty safe place also. In terms of other regulations, for example, there's talk that the property tax is being killed, which would be pretty cool because that's 16%, and that would drive investments just up and up and up. Now, this is not true, but this could happen. Let's see. Okay, let me take a look at all your questions before I dive deeper. Here we go. Tourism numbers. Yes, I mentioned those. Footfall, as in the footfall and the average spent by the tourists here. Great question, Nishant. I would have to look that up, to be honest. Yeah, but people spend a lot. For example, when I live in Germany, I spend much less than when I'm in Bali, because in Bali, I just like either we have a chef at home and cooks for us, or I go out 3-4 times a day to eat, because in Bali life happens outside. So you just like go to restaurants, you go to places, you go to resorts and sit there and chill there with your friends. And that's where you usually just consume things. And like, a single coconut is pretty cheap, but then if you have your meal, your Western meal to it, you quickly spend 20, 30, $40. And I quickly end up spending like 40, 50, $60 a day on average, So I know that people that come there for a vacation spend much, much more money because they want to go to the most amazing places. Yeah. What else? How does it work with short-term rentals? We get into that. I can track the rental income. Yes, there's transparency. Can I invest with cryptocurrency? Yes, you can. All kinds of currencies are possible. Minimum investment value, I will cover that in a second. What are the current real estate regulations? Yeah, we mentioned that. Okay. Yep. What's one liner I talked my regional relatives who have the capitals but trust in convincing on Coco behalf I wanted to do. Okay, Bilal, can you rephrase that question? That would be helpful. The return on investment is based on a yearly. Yes, and freehold, leasehold, we cover that. Okay, cool. Let's dive into this. Yeah. So for us and for Coco Investments, we're going into this new project right now. This is our 6th project. It's called Coco Hills. And what you can see here is that all the apartments are facing in the same direction. The direction is basically we're not cliffside, right? I showed that we're a bit in the countryside, but we're on a hill, so we're kind of facing the beach all together. So we're gonna see beautiful sunsets, and we have this shared community space here with lots of shared amenities, which I'll share in a second. But what are the ways to invest? Let's just zoom out for a second. You can buy villas in Bali. Yes, you can buy apartments, which you can with us, for example. You can buy joglos. What are other ways to invest in Bali? Of course, you can open up a restaurant, for example, or buy a spa, right? But from a real estate investment perspective, those are usually the ways. Now, how do you decide what you do? Well, the answer is it doesn't matter, but what you need to create is experiences. And this is what many, many people just don't understand and don't get. But the future of investments lies in creating shared experiences. Why is that? We're living in the world that is more lonely than ever. Current studies show that we have loneliness rates of about 30%. That means 1 out of 3 people. How many people are we here today? Like 67 I saw before. That means over 25 people here in this chat right now, in this webinar, are feeling lonely as defined as a mental health condition. And loneliness is a driver of many diseases and can shorten your lifespan from 8 to 17 years. Why can I say that? I was just yesterday at the Don't Die Summit here in Miami from Brian Johnson, and he was showing all these studies. So loneliness is one of the most dangerous diseases out there, basically. So we need to do something about it. Why are we so lonely? I mean, COVID definitely played into that, but we're working from home. We're working from home. We're not going to the office anymore. We're not connecting with others. We're staying in our nucleus of life, and we're like kind of trapped in our comfort zone. And so from our perspective, community is now becoming more and more important again than ever. And so for us, the future of living, this is what we want to create, a plug and play home, but not just one, but multiple across the world, where you can just basically kind of live and travel with us. So the future of living means living together in multiple places in a lifestyle tailored environment where you have everything you need. I showed what that means in a second, and where work and leisure can blend into one. So, for example, in this project here in Coco and the Coco Hills project, we have a co-working space, where you can just plug and play and start working, because more and more people are working in the creators industry. You have your restaurant, of course, your massage, you have your podcast studio. We have a gym. We will not have a padel court in this project. We decided that because we tested it and it's a bit too loud for the neighboring apartments. We have long shared dining tables so that people meet each other instead of just sitting by themselves in their small little corner, We're going to have lots of events where people come together, panels, fireside chats, co-workings, parties, all the things. So there's a lot going on. And that's really important for us to create that shared experience. So you basically have your apartment with us in this project, where we believe also you don't need to have a villa, because you're just basically going to go there to sleep, or maybe to have like sometimes some quiet meetings and some beautiful loving time with your partner or whatever, right? But then you want to connect with the community and the communal spaces. So for the question that already came in, the prices for our investors start at $155,000. But what we offer is that 20% of that investment can be paid by rental income or by a resale profit afterwards, which means you only have to bring $116,000 to the table. Okay, $116,000. This is basically where it starts. And of course, you don't have to pay that all at once. We usually work with a down payment and then a payment plan until the project is finished. I can already take that ahead. This project is going to be finished probably by January 2027. So our timeline says December 26th, but we had to start a month later. So that's why we're expecting it to be finished by January 2027. So during this development phase, basically, we can kind of spread out the payment plan. Yes, and the question was if the return on investment is yearly. Yes, it's annually, yearly, not monthly. That'd be crazy. That'd be cool. Yes. And so the Coco Hills, I already showed it, is here a bit in the center of Uluwatu, and you have access to all the beautiful spots around. That's kind of the idea. And the apartments look like this. This is the smallest apartment, the studio apartment called Coco Colina. Again, $155,000, 40 square meters. It has your own kitchen, you have a living room, you have a 30-year lease. So I address the topic of lease and freehold at this point. For the people that don't know what this is, in Indonesia, we're not allowed to own land. So we find somebody who owns land, an Indonesian person, like a farmer or the government, and then we lease it from them. And there's two terms. One is leasehold. That usually means that you have a period of up to 30 years, years of ownership. And then you have freehold, which is also a leasehold, but 99 years. So just much longer time, okay? And now this is also the reason why most banks across the world don't give you loans to invest in Indonesia. Indonesia is not the only country, of course, who does it, like Mexico, most countries around Indonesia, like Thailand as well, right? So they don't do that because you don't own the land. So if anything goes wrong, you can't pay your bank loans anymore, right? They can't take the property away from you, really. And that's why they don't give you loans. And that's why this is a tricky thing. You have to bring in your own money. Yes, so here we go. And this project is a freehold project, but in your investment sum, the first 30 years are covered. So basically after 30 years, you just pay the lease for the next 10, 20 years, for example. We have in our contract, you can then see exactly how much that is. It's not killing your return on invest, basically. Okay. So here you see just a few pictures, and I can also share the brochure with you guys here in the chat, right? And so you can take a look at that by yourself. I'm going to share like a couple of resource materials afterwards. The second apartment is the Coco Aura. This is a big one-bedroom apartment, 60 square meters with your own kitchen, your own living room again. It is more separated, has more space. Everyone also has their own pool, which is nice, and goes for 200,000. So here you would have to invest 160,000. Sure, Muhammad. I'm having the recording and we'll share that afterwards. And then lastly, the third apartment is the Horizonte, $245,000, 80 square meters, 2 bedrooms. This is sometimes when you have families, or for example, when friends together co-invest, this makes a lot of sense. Or we have people that have lots of friends, they want to send them around, and they just want to have that property to bring their friends in and come together. That's kind of the idea. Yes, real photos. I mean, currently it's all renders, right? Because it's not delivered yet. But I can share, Theodora, I can share with you photos. I share my contact data afterwards, okay? And then you can reach out to me and I'll share some photos from projects that are already finished, that are real. Sure. So here you see the horizontal pictures. And yeah, so in total, from an investment standpoint, here's a quick overview again, the different projects, $155,000, $245,000. And then I mentioned before, 20% of the total investment sum can be paid by rental profit, meaning once it's finished, we start making money. We just keep that money until this is paid off. It's like an interest-free loan from us to make it easier for you to invest. And so you need to invest only 80% of that. Okay. Now, how do we make money with this? That's a great question. Well, there's different strategies. Of course, first of all, the two most important factors to make your money are occupancy rate, right? Like how many nights per month is your apartment rented out? And then, of course, the price per night. Those are the two factors that drive your revenue, okay? And so we're heavily invested into building our own brand, making us strong and independent from platforms like Airbnb and Booking.com. We're currently in the finishing touches of creating our own rental platform so that we don't have to give 12% to Airbnb, for example, or I don't know the rates on Booking, but they're similar or even higher. So that the money stays in our pocket, so we can even give you more return on invest again, because people come renting through our own platform. Because we're driving so much traffic ourselves. We are working with so many influencers. We're making lots of brand things so that people just come to us and find us naturally through our channels and social media. So there's different strategies, short-term investments, which means you buy with us right now off plan. And once it's finished, you just sell it again. That's one option to make money. It's basically passive flipping. Yeah, flipping means, again, you buy something, you make it finished, or you renovate and then you sell it again. And this way is you flip passively. You don't have to do anything. You just have to put your money in. Option 2 is keeping it for a couple of years. This is an example with 3 years. You can keep it 3 to 7 years. This is what people usually do. And then after 3 to 7 years, they sell it again. So they take home the return on invest over 3 to 7 years. Until maybe you already made all your investment back, and then you sell it on top. And this is how you can reach almost like 100%, for example, over 5 years. And some people just decide to keep it in the long run. That's also an option. And then you just like make your long-term rental profit. Yes.
How are we projecting that sell price? How are we coming to that selling price numbers?
Great question. Let me address that right now. So basically, right now we're off plan, right? And we're developing. It's like a car where you just have the pieces. It's cheaper. But once it's finished, it reaches its best state possibly ever, right? And so we can put it back on the market with an around 25 to 35 to sometimes 40% up higher price, right? Because there's people who don't like to invest off plan because there's a risk, right? Because it's not finished yet, but they like to invest once it's finished, which is also when we talk to private equity funds right now, for example, they also like to invest when it's finished and they already see there's 1 or 2 years of track record and then they buy in. They're happy to get less return on invest, but have more, so to say, security and safety, okay? And so, for example, in our project that we already have finished, the lifestyle residence with 14 apartments, there were 4 investors that said, hey, I would love to flip this. So we found investors for them and sold it. And of course, that is then down to negotiation. Like we can put a price on the market. And if, let's say, nobody wants it, we have to maybe go down a bit. You know, if lots of people are interested, we can go up a bit. And we're trying to find the best price, basically, for our investors. And this is how a couple of our investors made like 35%. Okay. Yes, this project is approved. Nishant, this is also something, if you want to like dig really deep on that, we can have a call with Rasmus, the founder, and he can tell you all about it because he is the one dealing with the government and everything, right? But this is, of course, all approved. We have pink zoned, so we have the legality to rent out short-term and everything is all in paper. We have a whole due diligence folder where everything is also in the document. So this is all paper proof, so to say. Which, you know, if we get down the line with you guys and you're genuinely curious to invest, this is also part of the whole investment process to, you know, double check everything and prove that this is like real and not just fake, right? Yeah. Here's a couple of, here's a payback calculation example, what that could look like. Again, occupancy rate and rent per day are the 2 factors that drive your revenue. And the $130 per night is something we like aim for like once it's like up and running. Of course, in the beginning, we always start with a much cheaper price for the first month or 2, just to really drive the occupancy rate high and get lots of reviews. And then we eventually, especially with the summer, we can like hit higher prices. And so we're kind of averaging $130 on average per year, basically. That's kind of what we're looking for like this smaller one-bedroom apartment with a slow increase year by year, of course, due to inflation. And here you see that then over a period of 5 to 6 years, we're kind of expecting to make the money back, okay? When I speak with German investors, I have my own calculations that are more pessimistic, and I even show that maybe it takes 7 years to make your money back. But even then, we're still better than in most places of the world, right? Okay. Let's see, I hear somebody talk again, so I'm just gonna mute. There you go. Sorry, Bilal. So yeah, of course, deep dive on return on invest calculations we can do in one-to-one conversations. I want to give you guys like an overview. We have like about 7 minutes left, and I want to also answer all your questions. How does a payment plan look like? Usually we take a 50% initial down payment and then 30% after 12 months. And then again, the last 20% can be handled by rental, by rental income afterwards. And of course, here we can speak with each other and see what we can make possible for you guys. Currently, this project is sold out by about 50%. So we started sales at the end of December. Now we have end of March. So within 3 months, we almost like sold out half of the project. So we're on pretty good track to, kind of finish it maybe towards like June, possibly. From our latest experiences from our other projects, the speed picks up a bit after a while, but let's see. This is how the payments are structured. Now here's like one more overview, which I really like to share with you guys. Like this is how we're like mapping Bali right now. This is all our projects under development and finished. And yes, sharing a bit about the future of Coco. We're currently covering Bali, but our goal is to create these shared experiences, lifestyle resorts, community homes all across the world. So our people can really travel with us. And our investors, for example, if you're invested in one of our projects, you can book a night in any of the other projects with a 25% discount. So with that, we kind of also really make sure we build a community of investors around us and that stay connected to us. You can also access the shared facilities of other projects as an investor of ours. So that's also really cool. Yeah, I mentioned the timeline. Again, put this all back 1 month. So January 2027 is when we expect to finish. And throughout the construction period, we also can increase already the price every 6 months by 7.5%, which we also do. So since we start in January, like for example, in June, you will not get the same prices anymore. We're going to up the price by 7.5%. Yeah. People keep asking us, like, are you just building or are you doing the whole thing? We're doing the whole thing. So we're finding the land, we're developing the concept and the idea, we're designing, we're then constructing, developing it. Also, when it's finished, we're renting out. Maybe you remember I mentioned the company called Bali Nest, which is our sister company, which is basically doing the white labeling for us, and we're renting it out together. And for the whole management, we take 30% of the revenue, and that kind of covers if anything breaks, if we need new furniture in 5 years, all kinds of fixing operations, so cleaning every day, everything that's going on, insurance. We even need to put money aside if anything happens for the future, right? And so all the return on invest calculations you see is already after we took the 30% away, okay? So you're not losing on that. Yes. Okay, what else? Yeah, this is not so important right now. This is also stuff we mentioned already. Okay, cool. So first of all, if you want to speak one-to-one with me on a deep dive, just make sure you take your phone, take a screenshot here from the QR code. You can WhatsApp me, and I will also share with you guys my booking link as well as the brochure. And after that, I will... Oh, I quickly have to stop sharing the screen for a second because I just need to access my links and I don't want you to see my screen. Give me a second. And then I will answer now all the last questions that I haven't answered yet, okay? So give me 1 second. Step 1, if you want to dive deep with me one-to-one and like get involved with us and understand what it looks like. Here we go. That's my calendar link. I'll type also my WhatsApp. Please don't spam me. We had that a bit, of course, that's always the tricky thing with WhatsApp groups, right? That some people use it to spam you. And I hope it didn't happen to you guys. If so, please just like block the people and report them. And that's end of story. And don't even think about it twice. And I will also share with you guys the brochure of the Coco Hills project. So you can like look into that. I kept a couple of slides out that are also covered in the brochure. And here we go. This is, I think, the most important material right now for you guys to share. Also, if you guys like to do your own research, there's, of course, many magazines and everything to follow, but one page that we really enjoy following that just gives really concentrated, condensed, I'm missing the word right now. Anyways, that gives really good condensed information is on Instagram, for example, Bali Expat, expert. So you can take a look at that as well for some on research. And now I come back to your questions and I also share my screen again. So you see, you can take the QR code as a screenshot if you want to. Here we go. Okay, so let's get into your questions. First of all, also, thank you for listening and staying with me up until the end. I really appreciate it. I feel like nobody left. That's always a good sign. And yes, we do have a recording, which I will share with you guys afterwards via email in the next days, which goes out. Just keep an eye out for that for Coco emails. And now we're going to the questions. And I'm starting at the bottom. Okay, Bilal, you're asking for a meetup clip. Can you text me on WhatsApp? And I'm sure we can arrange something like this together with our team. Okay. Unaware about Bali market. Is this, we mentioned that already. It's approved. Yes. We have photos. Theodore, also text me and then I'll get you some more photos. We have tons of material, of course. It's just like, what do we do in the beginning, right? And how do we spam you guys? There's also a whole topic, for example, of taxation and setting up a company in Indonesia. This is something we cover in our one-to-one conversations then, okay? Video will be shared. Can we guarantee a minimum ROI? Great question. We used to do that in our first projects because we needed to get on the market and start our sales. We guaranteed a 12% ROI per year over the first 3 years. We don't do that anymore just because we don't have to, and it's let's say something like COVID happens again and we have a guaranteed ROI in all our projects, then we're basically screwing our own company. We just can't do that, right? There's like certain circumstances that we cannot guarantee for. And that's why we don't do it. But if you just really look at the Bali market data, unrelated to Coco, and you see what's going on, then you're pretty confident that you can do 2-figure return on invest if you understand, which is what I shared, that you just don't just build a villa or an apartment, you create an experience. I think this is really the future. With Bali being more and more developed, and I've seen this in many other places in the world too. If you just have a shitty apartment, here in Miami, for example, if you just have a shitty apartment, people don't book that. If you create an experience, it's always booked out and you make so much more money. Yes. How does one go around selling their unit if they choose to? Do you have track record of sales by new owners? Yes, again, in our first project with the 14 apartments, they were finished in October and December together. Some in October, some in December. We already resold 4 apartments. I always tell people, if you want to sell your apartment with us right away or at any time, expect like a sale period of maybe 6 to 12 months. Now, the projects that were sold already were resold within 3 months, even faster, but I don't want to guarantee that. We need a bit of time. Of course, we need to find the right investor. Of course, you can also go ahead and speak to real estate agents all across Indonesia, all across Bali. They have long lists of potential investors that are always looking for opportunities, right? We can make it a co-created effort, but we're definitely here to help you. Yes. Cool. And then how easy that is comes down to what we built here, right? Like, I mean, you guys need to make up your own mind. Like, is this something, that you feel like is a great project, that you believe in? Is what I've shared with you about the future of living something that makes sense to you? This is also where I'm inviting the common sense, to think for yourself. In terms of tracking the rental income, yes. So we have frequent reports to our investors once something is finished. Once a month is over and a bit of time goes by, we have all the numbers from the month. We can always share the reports. Usually we do a report every 3 months, but on request, we can also like give that out a bit more often. Yep. Okay. Puneet, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. How does Coco Hills project has freehold as compared to leasehold? Yes, I mentioned that. It's just the land that we got as freehold. We paid more for that, but we just want to make sure that we really have it long term, I think in the future, I personally believe that it makes sense to go into into freehold projects instead of leasehold projects. You still make your money back with leasehold, right? I showed it takes 5 to 7 years, to make your money back. So if you can do that within 30 years, you can do that 5 times, then you're good, of course. But the idea is not to lose your place after 30 years. And I haven't heard of locals taking away investors' homes or anything after 30 years. What usually happens is that the locals, they want to have their money. Why? They're farmers, and now they're farmers getting old, and the kids are going to university and taking a job in Jakarta and become accountants or whatever. So they're not continue to farm. And so they want to cash in on the land they have, and they want to still keep the land. So that's why they do leasehold. And now you do leasehold. And after maybe 20 years, they come back to you and ask if you want to extend the leasehold. Sorry, Ola Sile, I muted you. They want to extend it because they want to get more money again. And they don't know what to do with your resort or their villa, because they're not real estate experts. They didn't study that. They didn't learn that. They're farmers many times. And that's why if you treat them properly, if you play by the rules in Indonesia, your stuff won't get taken away, right? So you then just basically extend the leasehold contracts. But yes, to make sure to feel great, me as a German, I like to have a freehold contract if possible. Hi, Helen. I see your message. Okay. We can speak. I will copy your number. Cool idea. Oh, now you saw my WhatsApp. Ignore that. I talk about shared experience. How much time can I spend in an apartment I invest in throughout the year? Yes, great question, Ryan. You can basically stay the whole year if you want to. Of course, if all the investors stayed the whole year, the whole concept doesn't pay off, but that's also just not the reality. But yes, you can always be there. You can come and you don't make money in that time. There are a few side costs like your own electricity usage. And there is a fee to the local village, to the local community called Banjar fee, communal fee also. And so you have to pay that. That's usually $200 for a unit per month. So if you stay for 10 days, it's a third of that you have to pay. And for normal tourists, it's already like calculated in the price. Okay, and now there's new questions that came in. Imane, there is going to be a recording of this. Maybe we'll do another webinar in a month or two, but for now, we're going to have a recording afterwards. Just keep your eyes open for the emails coming in, okay? Yes, Bilal, again, just send me a message, okay, so we can speak. Yearly maintenance service charge cost. So this is, again, what I mentioned. We have 30% management and operations fee. And so everything is covered. You only invest with us once, and then you do not have any other costs coming up that you need to pay for or worry about, okay? So this is then all into our responsibility, and we need to make sure that we manage with those 30%. Okay, that's cool. Okay, answered that. Great. Is there a term of lease extension? Yes, there is. Sorry, for some reason, I do not have on top of mind right now the extension price, but every unit is a bit different. So depending on the size of the unit, the extension price is a bit different, but it's not crazy. It's like peanuts. Okay. For buying a land for 30 years or 99 years, but what about the development on the land that was already developed? Will it go back to owner with the development, or the people who bought the unit keep owning them? I think your question, Anwar, is whether basically they take the land or whatever you develop there back from you, which I believe they don't know what to do with that, so they won't. Also, you have usually a great relationship with your landowner, and you kind of give something back. It's a symbiosis, right? Like they have money to provide for their family, and you have your project to create an experience, and that's just kind of a give and take, Yusuf, we do not have a branch in Nigeria, but you're the second person now to ask me. And if you ever want to promote something in Nigeria, we can talk if you have investors around you, and we can maybe create a digital meetup or something. It's probably going to get a bit tricky for me to fly to Nigeria anytime soon, so we can maybe do it online. Yes. Cool. Bilal, again, text me. I love what you're sharing. I'm happy to chat with you and get to know you and see if we can create something together. Cool. I think I've answered all the questions, and I appreciate all your questions up until this point. I'm closing the shared screen now, and I hope to meet as many of you guys as possible in the one-to-one. If you guys want to invest with us, super happy to chat. If you guys have more questions, super happy to chat. And I wish you good luck on your investment journey. Sorry for the background noises here right now. And yeah, wish you a wonderful day. And I talk hopefully to many of you guys soon. And with that being said, welcome, Jim, to the meeting. I'm just going to close the window door here. You guys can go and leave now. I'll stay online for a few more minutes if more questions pop in. Other than that, I appreciate your time. Maybe everybody turns on the camera for a second and says hi. That's also cool. If not, then take care. Okay, sounds gone. Awesome. You can also give me quick feedback how it was for you guys.
Thanks, Thomas. Yep.
Welcome.
Great presentation, Thomas. What I really like about you guys are you are as, clear and open about things, straightforward to the point. This is something that I was kind of missing from other agents, so thanks for sharing the information. Of course, we can do one-to-one for more details, but thanks for that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Indonesia can be tricky when it comes to getting straight information. Yeah, it's a way of learning to keep your cool while you're just like waiting for answers, and everybody gives you a different answer. But yeah, I love how people are coming in. I think sometimes it's easy to also get confused with all the time zones. But yeah, it is what it is. So to the ones who just are coming in, the webinar is already over. We're closing now. I'm also going to stop the recording now.